Rise with India podcast on ET Now.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to this episode of the ET Now Rise with India podcast. I'm your host Rohit. Before we start, here are the top stories. A significant comment from the government as Foreign Minister Jaishankar says India will be guided by its historical friendship with Afghan people. President Joe Biden to host the first ever in-person Quad summit at the White House this month. Retail inflation eases to a 4-month low in August as food prices soften. Global oil demand will exceed the pre-pandemic levels next year according to OPEC. It promises to be a major showdown between an investor and founder as Zee prepares for an important EGM today. And big push for the vaccine drive, 75 crore shots given, average 74 lakh plus daily shots this month. You're listening to the ET Now Rise with India podcast. Coming up, the stories that are making all the headlines this morning. India has said that it is willing to stand by Afghans and called for unimpeded access to aid provided to the country. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar said India's approach to Afghanistan has always been guided by its historical friendship with its people, and it will continue to be the case. US President Joe Biden will host the first ever in-person Quad summit at the White House on September 24th. Prime Ministers of India, Australia and Japan will be attending this. Subdued prices of food items like vegetables have pulled down retail inflation to a 4-month low of 5.3% in August. This is below RBI's upper tolerance band for the second successive month. The cabinet is likely to take up the cryptocurrency bill very soon. ET now learns that the government is looking to tax crypto trades in the country. The government feels the rationale behind this is that any activity that generates income must pay tax. The GST Fitment Committee is recommending changes in some rates as the council gets ready to meet this Friday. Centre is expected to present various scenarios of revenue collection post-June next year, and the options to make up for any shortfall will also be discussed. The IMD has said that the state of Odisha should brace for another low-pressure system which is likely to form by September 17th. If this happens, it will trigger more rainfalls in the state later this week. Elon Musk's SpaceX is looking at the spot of leading space enterprise as it gets set for a mission to deliver civilians to orbit for several days and back later this week. Today on the COVID corner, India accomplished a major milestone on Monday with over 75 crore doses administered across the country so far. Among the 18-plus population for whom vaccines are currently available, over 60% of the estimated 90 crore adult population has now received at least one dose, whereas 19% is fully vaccinated. Britain's chief medical officers have said that children between the age 12 to 15 should be vaccinated against coronavirus, despite a ruling by the government's advisors that the step would have only marginal health benefits. Here's the check on the Wall Street. A rally in energy shares helped S&P 500 clock modest gains. This follows a steep fall last week as investors await further cues to extend the gains. The OPEC expects global oil demand to go past the pre-pandemic levels next year as vaccination rates rise and recovery gathers pace. Top cryptocurrencies gave up their gains after Walmart denied any agreement to use Litecoin for purchases. Litecoin had risen as much as 33% at one point, but wiped off all of it. Bitcoin too was down along with other digital assets. The House Democrats have laid out the details of their proposed tax increases. They are calling for raising corporate tax rate to 26.5% from 21%. Back home, it has turned out to be another day of indecision on Dalal Street as Nifty stalls near record highs. The index has been caught in a tight trading range for the last 5 sessions with no major triggers on the horizon either way. A doji pattern on the index is a sign of caution, but instead of expecting an instant correction, one could wait for a confirmation of the trend. FII's net bought shares worth about 1,400 crore rupees, while DII's sold shares worth about 560 crore rupees. Let's tell you about the active stocks this morning. Invesco, the largest shareholder in Zee Enterprises, has called for the removal of MD Puneet Goenka as the divide between the fund and founders deepen. 2 independent directors on the board, Ashok Kurian and Manish Chokhani, have resigned ahead of the AGM today. The government has discussed the option of converting a part of interest dues of telecom companies into equity as part of a solution to sort out the mess. Watch out for Action Construction Equipment. The shares were in demand after reports of a defense order, pushing the volumes to their highest level in nearly 4 years. Keep an eye if the rub-off continues for advanced enzymes. It said it had a clinical breakthrough of systemic enzymes and probiotics to resolve long COVID fatigue symptoms. According to a news report, All Cargo Logistics has dropped the plan to delist shares after shareholders voted against the offer. Today, shares of Amy Organics and Vijay Diagnostics will list on the exchanges. That's all that I have time for. Thank you for listening in. We will be back again with a fresh episode of Rise with India. Wish you all a great day ahead.
The Rise with India podcast on ET Now.